We are live.
Hold your
Go ahead and do
you want me to do
go
that
ahead and
again?
do the intro again.
Take two?
Yes. Take two.
We are live, more or less, from Las Vegas. Mark Anthony, Rick Rosen, TourTalkTV.com, and Good Sports. What's up, buddy? How's it going?
Just dealing with the beautiful weather, that's all. So
yeah, in this event, 60-something degrees out, sunny, nice. Yeah,
meanwhile,
those people back east have it much better.
Hey, I love watching snow on the internet. Okay.
Yeah, I get my hometown newspaper and I'll click on it and they have the temperature at least and whether it's cloudy or whatever it's doing. It's not an in-depth weather report, but it'll be like 8 degrees. I still have my windows open.
Yes.
I'm like, yeah, okay.
That's right.
This is good.
Right. Hey, we're coming to the end of January, all of the bowl games and everything. What's up with the
all right, well, we're in the middle anyway. Yeah.
Well, college.
Oregon got beat by a better team. That's exactly what it is. Oregon's
Thank you, Dennis.
They run the same offense. Their head coach Chip Kelly. Well, their head coach Chip Kelly went to Philadelphia, left Mark Helfrich to take over and run the same offense, and they have a tremendous quarterback in Marcus Mariota, at least a tremendous college quarterback. I'm not sure he'll make a tremendous NFL quarterback, but he's a good kid, 180 degrees opposite of last year's Heisman winner, Jameis Winston, who Oregon beat in the semis to get to the national championship game. Urban Meyer, former coach at Florida, had Tim Tebow there and kind of knows how to defense those guys that have that kind of game, and that's exactly what he did. So, sounds like I'm getting a call. Maybe it could be somebody joining the show. Let's find out.
All right.
I have no idea how to do this. Okay. Well,
Technology
anyhow,
somebody
wanted. Yeah, well, we'll get it figured out, Mark. Anyhow, Marcus Mariota led Washington to the championship game. They have been bridesmaids for the past several years. They've been in the hunt, but just never could get over that hump. And now it looks like Urban Meyer just figured out, hey, listen, I've seen that, been there, done that, and his defense was up to the game. They're third-string quarterback. Cardale Jones making news today. He's the guy that won the national championship, or at least was the quarterback of the winning team. And he is coming back to Columbus. He's the third-string quarterback. The other two guys ahead of him were simply out with injuries that will be healed by next football season. And he's going to come back. This guy's won a national championship, and he's going to come back as the third-string quarterback. So somewhat of a surprise that he didn't go to the NFL. Big kid, strong arm, great field presence, all that, and he has on his resume a national championship. So somewhat of a surprise that he's going back to Columbus. I think that will probably spread some of the this year's quarterback talent out a little bit because nobody's going to want to go and sit for 3 years. And but college football alive and well. They're saying, Mark, in the Rosen sports books that this is the biggest, by far and away, the most widely bet single college football game, and then if there's money to be made, it's inevitable that the NCAA will knuckle under and move from 4 teams in it to 8 or 12 or 16 or whatever it was. I mean, the basketball tournament used to be 8 teams, and look where it is now with 64 and March Madness, and so now we'll have November Madness or December Madness or Football Madness or whatever the hell they're going to call it, but we're going to see an expansion of this, and I think it's cool. They play it on the field. You win it on the field. My hometown team, the Colorado State University of Pueblo, is the Division 2 champions. They won a game. I think they won the national championship 13-0, and they went to Mankato or somewhere up around there, Mark, and your home state of Minnesota, and this is a program that came from nothing. There was no program 7 years ago, and John Riston, the former offensive coordinator at Northwestern and also at UCLA, took over this program, started it from scratch, and they've been in the hunt for the past several years and got over the hump, and this year won the national championship. So I want to give a little shout out to them. Oregon, pretty much in the same boat. They just couldn't get in. So, do we have somebody hollering in at us?
Not that I see.
Or either that, or so I'm hearing things again, which is all right. We're working on the medication part. Yeah, Mark. It's been an interesting season simply because nobody knew how this was going to shake out. By the first part of November, most teams know where they're going. We're going to a bowl game and what it's going to mean, and we have a shot at winning the national championship. Now we're going to the deal. We're going to the race, and we have to win too. And there's no voting or nothing after the fact. Once you're in the deal, it's kind of like making the chase for the cup in sprint car anymore. You got to win it, and so I think it's a positive step.
All right, college is done.
College is done. Here, you stick a fork in them. Yeah.
That's right. NFL. We're almost, Cowboys, yay! Sorry.
Which would you like to hear the police blotter report for today?
Yes.
Here it is. McCrary, the linebacker for the Indianapolis Colts, who upset the Denver Broncos and probably cost John Fox at least certainly helped him get out of his get out of coaching the Denver Broncos anymore. John Fox probably going to go to Chicago, but the linebacker for the Colts suspended, charged with rape. This is a kid that played at West Point. He was a lieutenant in the Army for 2 years. Deployed, come back, and makes the squad and has just damn near everything going for him. They upset the Broncos. They're going to the AFC Championship game, win one more. They're in the Super Bowl, win two more, and they hold the trophy. And this guy had to do his best Bill Cosby impersonation and, had sex with an incapacitated woman, and she was saying no and scratched him up. And so he's on the you can't play today list. And I don't know. I don't think the Colts had a huge chance anyway, but this certainly can't help them.
I wasn't expecting the Packers. Yeah. Packers surprised me. I was really not expecting the Packers to, do what they did.
Yeah, especially with Rodgers injured and. I thought early on, at start the season, Rodgers told everybody, relax, we're going to be okay, and they certainly were. They're in the championship game. All right, you've got it. But Seattle is a team that has done the exact same thing. They've come on much stronger towards the end of the season, which bodes well for your team in the playoffs. And they're healthier than the Packers are. So without Aaron Rodgers being able to move around and everything, I think the Seahawks having adequate time to prepare for him are really going to they're just going to whip them horses right up front and say, go get him, and create as much confusion and make him run, and which leads to more injuries. The guy can't escape, and when he escapes by half a step before, now he's a half a step slower, he's going to get hit. And it would not surprise me in the least to see Rodgers not be able to make the entire game. Because there ain't no tomorrow, for the guys that are playing against you. They can be tired after the Super Bowl and go check out Hawaii or Tahiti or whatever they want to do. So guys don't really leave a lot in the tank this far into the playoffs, Mark. These two games historically are the better football games than the Super Bowl has been. Although I think a lot of people think that if it's New England and the Seahawks in the Super Bowl, it will certainly be two very, very good competitive teams with contrasting styles. And it looks like if that's what it's going to be, and I think that's going to be the matchup we'll see, Mark, I think it looks like it could be a Super Bowl to remember.
Well, here we live in Vegas. This is where the true Super Bowl parties happen. So, if you can get the Seahawks in there, we're going to get a really good crowd here, and it's going to be a lively, it's going to be a lively town.
Yeah, absolutely. And listen, there's quite a few Bostonians and New Englanders around too, and they're always up for a good party. And how can you? It wouldn't matter if it was Jacksonville and and Kansas City. It just wouldn't matter. The party's on when it's Super Bowl week. Although we have to say big game
Big
week.
game.
We
The
can't
big game.
promote. We can say it in a news. We can say it in a news fashion, but we can't do any promotions or anything like that without calling it the big game. That's
Right.
surprising that somebody could trademark Super Bowl, but somebody didn't have the foresight to do the big game at the same damn time. But I think it's a little petty on the NFL's part, considering how much they've enriched themselves. You look at what Jerry Jones bought the Cowboys for, and now they're worth more than $2
Yeah.
billion with the B dollars, and he spent a few million acquiring them. I mean, not that he hasn't nurtured it and deserve it, I guess, but
How about
anyway, the NFL a little short-sighted about that Super Bowl nonsense.
how about the Rams coming back to
I
LA?
think Rams coming back to LA. One way or the other, LA is going to get a team. You can't have the second biggest city in the nation and one of the top destinations in the world to not have at least a presence in the NFL. And when the Raiders and the Rams both left in the 90s, that's it. And it's been a while. And they'll support a team. It's almost like the nonsense that's going on here with this soccer team. If you build it, yeah, people will go. I think in LA, the same as it would be here in Las Vegas, Mark. If they don't win, then people aren't going to go. I don't care where you're located. You could put a team in Times Square, or in the middle of the Staples Center. They could have a football team, and if they don't win, they're not going
If
to
they
go.
don't
And
win,
then they that's it. That's the name of the game now. Instant gratification. Yeah.
cocaine.
Cocaine. Thanks.
I don't-
No, not for a while, but it is a pleasant thought now and again. You talk about cocaine and the controversy with cocaine now centers around John Jones, John Bones Jones, the
the
superstar in the
bone.
UFC, comes up dirty on a test like more than a month before his fight that he just won, and because they use the World Anti-Doping Agency WADA rules, it does not outlaw cocaine per se. This is much more involved with performance-enhancing drugs of steroids and those types of things. If he had taken the cocaine and tested dirty the night before the fight or the immediate after the fight, it would have affected the outcome. They would have stripped him of the title and the win, because it was out of performance. That time frame, that arbitrary time frame that they put up, there's no recriminations whatsoever, and Nevada's kind of got puckered up, and I guess it looks bad as much as anything. I don't know that doing cocaine 4 to 12 weeks ago really helps you in a fight now, and we had Keith Kaiser on with us, Mark, and former executive director of the Nevada Athletic Commission, and I asked Keith about the marijuana, and I said, how can you say that gives somebody an advantage in a fight? I said maybe playing chess or something like that, or a pie eating contest. You think, okay, marijuana is definitely outlawed, but or a hot dog, whatever. But for a fight, I think I'd like my opponent to be mellowed out on a little ganja before he hit me. I'm just saying, it just makes sense to me that way. But anyway, they've kind of got caught with their pants around their ankles. If they're going to outlaw it, now it's after the fact. So the next guy that comes up dirty is going to say, "Hey, wait a minute, that didn't cost him, and how come it's costing me?" And so I don't know that they'll be able to put that lid back on. Marijuana, the same thing. Several states, including my home state of Colorado, have legalized the recreational use of marijuana, and it remains a federal crime. Not prosecuted by the federals, and so the colleges and the pro teams in these states that have legalized marijuana, now you're saying it's almost like hollering at a dog to stop barking, and the dog's not making any noise. Okay, they can bark, but it's not doing it now, and they're just they're going to punish these guys for something that is legal where they live, or at least that's the threat. And I mean, times are changing, Mark. I don't know how they're going to rectify it all, but it's going to take more than one person to make a decision on it. And, you know, I guess a lot of things used to be illegal, and some things used to be legal that are no longer that way. You know, heroin was promoted as a non-addictive uh, uh, alternative drug. And that's how it was promoted, as non-addictive. So I guess as we live and learn, but you know, here we are in Las Vegas, Sin City, and we don't have that kind of nonsense here.
What was Dana
we don't
White's?
even have a football team.
Yeah. What was Dana White's reaction?
I was very fortunate to be. I had an appointment, and it's like getting an audience with the Pope to get an appointment with Dana. And I took our dear friend gorgeous George Garcia from MMAJunkie.com there at the Mandalay Bay, and the voice of MMA for USA Today. And George and I sat in the waiting room for half an hour, 45 minutes, and had a great time. The statue of Joe Louis is out. That was my companion at Caesars when I had the show there, is in the lobby of the UFC offices. And we went and sat with Dana. He was looking at a pair of gloves that I have, Mark, and it was the day that story broke. And Dana was very nonplussed about it. It really was not much of a at least it didn't show on him, and his demeanor and everything was very, very normal. And I think he'd already had the word that, hey, listen, it's not illegal, and you know, this storm will pass. We got bigger fish to fry. So we were really thinking that we were going to see Mount Vesuvius blow up at any given time, and he looked like maybe he was the poster boy for Valium at the during that whole hour. He was pretty much just good old Dana.
What else did you talk with him about?
Well, we touched on amateur MMA, and very near and dear to me. I sat on the board of directors for Boxing USA in Colorado, and I'm a big fan of what Barry Meyer started, and he and Jeff partnered up with at Tough Enough, and Barry Meyer very unfortunately took his own life after a bout of severe depression. And Jeff has taken over with Tough Enough and really done amazing things that nobody in their right mind would have thought were possible without Barry, and Jeff has really picked that up and ran with it. And again, congratulations to them. But we talked to Dana. George asked Dana the question. I mean, it was like doing an interview somewhat, except there wasn't microphones and those kind of things. But George asked Dana what his problem was with amateur MMA, and Dana's response kind of surprised me. He said it's that they don't get paid. Well, that is the essence of amateur, but it's been a real fairy tale since long ago, the Olympics, and when the Cold War was on, and all those types of things, and they kind of saw the light. And there is a movement to pay the athletes in the NCAA a stipend or some type of fund, and without that being the ruination and the pathway to hell. And I think you're probably going to see that come into these lower levels of MMA and even boxing, with the Golden Gloves and those type of things. You bring in a good amount of money, and you have performers that are doing that. They should get a share. I think that's a fairness type thing, Mark. I don't think it's near as much morality as it is just plain, hey man, I brought in the dough, give me some of that. These kids get the short end of the stick. You look at it, really doesn't matter what sport. If they're generating income, I believe they deserve some.
Well, it's only fair. I mean, they wouldn't make the money if these kids didn't show up. So yeah, pay them.
No, absolutely not. I don't know if this shows very well. I went to the CES convention. This is a thumb drive, and it's a soccer player. This is the Brazil uniform, and the guy gave me the thumb drive, and I'm going to give it to Gorgeous George because he is a Brazilian extraction and a huge soccer fan. But the things that doesn't have any markings or anything like that. I don't know what they had to pay licensing fee, but there's no particular player on there. So all of that goes, I understand that goes to the league, even though it's the players that made the league. I don't think the players get any of the cash from the licensing for that product. Same way with my Raiders gear. It's the Raiders players that made this dear to me, but I don't know if they deserve a whole lot of the money from the marketing of these other things. But when it's their face and those types of things, I'm wearing an Elway jersey. And for probably the last time, I don't know if you can see the colors, but
Yes.
if his name's on the back, okay, give him some of the cash. And these guys, you look at what Ohio State did in winning the national championship. I guarantee you that will be millions and millions and millions of dollars going to the general fund at Ohio State, not only just into the athletic fund, much as what Jerry Tarkanian did here for UNLV, and particularly when they won the national championship. My God, the number of children or students that were educated in a much better fashion, Mark, or educated at all because of the efforts of those 12 basketball players and the coaching staff that brought in a national championship to UNLV. The education that maybe everybody bitched about those 12 not getting. Even though several of them graduated, including Larry Johnson, who went back and got his degree. They bitch about those guys not going to class and not doing this and not doing that, and really lose sight of the hundreds and hundreds that received an education, or that were able to work with better equipment in the science lab, or better computers, in the engineering department, and those things that with that funding was brought in through athletics. And most of the kids from that UNLV team that won the national championship went on to play pro ball somewhere, whether it was Italy or Japan or here in the NBA, Stacey Ogman, Greg Anthony, Larry Johnson, on and on and on. They all made a big impact and got their money. With football teams, it's a little different. If 5 guys go on to the NFL, that means the 36 didn't out of out of the starting out of your 40 or so. So your A team, you have a much bigger percentage that doesn't have a shot at a pro career. And there again, back to the story. Hey, it's like the little red hen. Okay, I'm out here. I sowed the fields. I watered the plants. I weeded the fields. I crushed the wheat. I harvested. I crushed it. I made bread, and now everybody's eating the bread, and they didn't even leave me a scrap. Some of these guys qualify for food stamps and other things, and there's plenty of money. I'm sure the hierarchy at the NCAA could do with a good house cleaning and maybe spread some of those salaries out to these kids that are they're doing a full-time job. It's called college, and then they have another full-time job in college athletics. I mean, that's a lot of time. When you're a coach whose job depends, the math teacher's job doesn't really depend on whether you get an A or an F. The college football coach's job depends on whether you grade out an A or F on the football field. If he has too many guys out there getting Fs, he's in the unemployment line. So
right.
They put pressure on these cats. He saved my job. Screw science class. You get out there and study the X's and O's. So I think they would alleviate a lot of the problems that the NCAA has by just paying these cats.
Okay, so Super Bowl is coming up. What's after that? What's our focus after that?
It used to be the Pro Bowl was after that, and now it became such a joke that now it's the week before. It's in that. There's a week gap when they don't really have anything the next week after these games this weekend. They won't play the next weekend except the Pro Bowl, and then now they don't even do it by conference. It used to be the AFC versus the NFC, and that didn't work very well for them. So now they just have these guys, the old timers, pick teams, and they go out and play football, and hopefully nobody gets hurt. Then you're looking very shortly, Mark, will come to the NCAA March Madness, the second biggest sporting event, at least here in Las Vegas, other than the Super Bowl. Money-wise, it's a huge, because it's so stretched out. The Super Bowl, you either make or break it. Tomorrow with the March Madness, weeks and weeks and weeks where guys try to get back. So overall, it's a very huge event for Las Vegas. You look, there's some things on the radar, Mark. Tiger Woods, the guy that everybody was guaranteed he was going to break Jack Nicklaus' record in the majors, and Tiger's been stuck at 14 for 5 or 6 years now, and You know, so guy should be the poster boy for getting blowjobs, because once he stopped, he hasn't won another major. I'm just saying.
Whatever works, go back to it, buddy.
There's several instances. Yes, yeah. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. That's my attitude. But Will Tiger Woods, I think this is going to be a make or break year. If he doesn't do it now, he's just going to be an also-ran and a tremendous golfer, but I don't think he'll ever be dominant like he once was. First off, some of the field has caught up. It's like when Michael Jordan was inspiring people, or Dr. J was inspiring people. Well, then along came Michael Jordan. Now Michael Jordan inspires these guys that you see now, whether it's Kevin Durant or LeBron James or whomever. And there's always somebody waiting in the wings to kind of step up. And Tiger Woods maybe started out when there was a little bit of a lull in golf, and it was a little easier to dominate. Now, every time you go out there on the golf course, you're out there with a field that could certainly qualify for any U.S. Open or British Open or Masters or whatever, and be a very competitive field. So things have changed up a little bit, Mark.
When Tiger came on the scene, a lot of the major courses changed their layout to make it more competitive for Tiger. So now you have that generation behind him that are playing those fields, so they're used to it now.
Well, yeah, and some of them did it. Listen, let's be totally honest about this. Some people loved what Tiger Woods did for golf or whatever until he got to their course, and then some of the lily white places were accused of reorganizing redoing their courses to maybe give a little bit of advantage back to the other players and take some away from Tiger Woods, whether it had racial undertones or whatever it was. There is always that thought, Mark. It's a conspiracy that I don't think anybody will ever be able to prove, but I can guarantee you, no matter how popular Tiger is or was or ever will be, there will be racism in his deal, and pretty much throughout his career. There's always going to be a question. Anytime there's a controversy, that question will arise. We haven't gone that far as a society yet. By the way, before we go any further, Mark, I want to say these three words that I think are very, very important. Je suis Charlie. If you enjoy free speech, if you use free speech, if you know the phrase free speech, I think it's very important that we all are solid. This fight. My goodness, I looked at the number of newspapers who failed to show the cover of the week following the tragedy in Paris at Charlie Hebdo, and didn't reproduce out of fear. I mean, they win if you're afraid.
Totally agree.
If guys have died for that right before. They were wearing green uniforms or blue uniforms or some uniforms of some style. They fought. Excuse me, every war all the way back to the very first war, not the one that Audie Murphy was in, or George Washington, or whomever, and that's what this fight is about. Bill Clinton was a guest on Seth Meyers' late night last night on TV, and very, very eloquent about, listen, now it's time for the Muslim leaders to stand up and say, okay, we can destroy each other, but I don't think it's much smaller of a threat, Mark, than I lived through the Cold War, and we used to have to go out and sit in the hall in our schools and stick our head between our legs, I guess, so we could kiss our ass goodbye if they dropped a nuclear bomb on us. But we practiced for that. And how do you practice against terrorism? So we've all given up a lot of our rights anyway to get to the point where we are now, and it's unfortunate, but I can't imagine. And I think this is a thought that a lot of people are somewhat afraid to say, Mark. I think it's only a question of time before it happens at a major sporting event, some incident or at least some attempt. I mean, my God, in this last week, the bartender tried to kill John Boehner, and another guy had a good plan to blow up the Congress, and wait outside with the gun to pick off the people that ran. And okay, somebody's going to come up with an idea that they're going to implement pretty soon. You can't catch 100%. I don't care how good your fly paper is. Some flies just not going to land on the paper, and I think that's the big fear with these lone wolves and whatever. But the ultimate the underlying thing is we can't say anything about this people, so that means we can say it only about the other side. And I don't think
that's not
we've
right.
done that. And I think so many people understand that. And the millions and millions that turned out in Paris, God bless them, they were there marching and this and that, but that's walking the walk, man. Now you got to talk. I mean, yeah, that's talking the talk. Now that you got to take more than that walk down the streets of Paris, you actually have to meet it. And so they sold 5 million copies of Charlie Hebdo this week, but like the New York Times didn't, they blurred it out on their site, and I think that's very hypocritical. It's unfortunate. So to all them, I say, Je suis Charlie. You know,
Totally with you on that one.
I don't know if you've seen the cover. Have you seen the cover of
No.
this week's magazine?
No.
It is the Prophet Muhammad holding a sign that says Je suis Charlie, and above it says all is forgiven in French. I don't know how much more of a piece. Okay, you know, we're kind of at that point where it's take it or leave it, and you know, man, when somebody's talking genocide against you, it's tough not to visit some very, very sickening thoughts. But you know, if there's a cure out there that doesn't include, well, we have to kill everybody that's wanting to kill us. You know, I'd like to hear it, Mark, but kind of desperate times. Sports used to be the getaway from that, and they're going to be intertwined, dude. Whether it's the Olympics, who can't remember, or if you're old enough, you remember '72 at Munich when the Israeli athletes were killed by the Arab terrorists, and you know, it has. I think maybe that was kind of a watershed moment there in the world of terrorism, and '72 seems like a long time away, but you know. 43 years ain't really all that significant in the overall scheme of things.
Well, the '72 Olympics kind of started to wake us up to the fact that it's not black and white. You know, you can't just look at somebody and go, he's the enemy. You know, that you got to do your research. Yeah. You got to be careful of what goes on.
Well, absolutely. It took some of the innocence away. You used to be able to, well, you know, I mean, the Olympic Village. Imagine that somebody was not safe in the Olympic Village. The idea of the Olympics, they have stopped wars to have the Olympics. They didn't stop World War II, but they have actually put a halt to wars so these guys can go compete in sports against each other. And all right, we'll start the war again in a week. See you back here. Bring your spears and your arrows and rocks and stuff, and we'll start the war again. And to think that somebody was attacked at the Olympics, I will never forget that. And you know, God bless them all. They are just pawns, but I do not think we have seen the end of it, Mark, and I don't know how good security can get. They were saying in the aftermath of some of this that ISIS and or Al Qaeda have posted online the recipe to make a bomb that is not detectable at the airport because it has no metal in it, and so it takes very, very sophisticated equipment to smell the fingerprint of the explosives. And so if it doesn't set off a metal detector, somebody's chances of getting on a plane are pretty good. You know, with a bomb, and man, they're using 10-year-old kids to blow themselves up to kill people. That happened this last week, Mark. So, you know, sports is changing. A lot of things I think we tend to give so much importance to in sports, like cocaine or whatever. Listen, there's bigger fish to fry out here. Let's keep everybody alive first, then we'll get back to playing sports. So. What's going on in your end of the world? I know your partner for life, Debbie, is doing quite a bit of photography. What is she shooting lately?
We just came back from Scottsdale, Arizona for the Barrett Jackson auction, and so she got to shoot a lot of chrome. Doesn't move, but she likes
cool.
it.
All right.
All right. So,
well, that's good. It's easy. And so. Go ahead.
Oh no, it's just her preference is wildlife or things that move, and here's metal and chrome, and okay, it's cool, but
yeah. Well, the trick there then is to move the camera, make it look like the damn car is moving. Speaking of moving, I did go to CES, and there's another coming thing, Mark.
Oh God.
The overwhelming majority of the helicopters and the drones and things that were there are incredible. They had nets set up and they had these flying demonstrations. They did a thing with these little drones that would fit in the palm of my hand. That are we still on?
Yeah. Yeah, we're here.
Okay, there you're back.
We're good.
Okay, I had an error message. Anyway, these things would fit in the palm of your hand, and they were flying them around in unison like synchronized swimming at the Olympics. And it was absolutely amazing, Mark. And I think you may see these come on as sports. I mean, it looks like it was pretty darn intricate, but it was a lot more interesting than some of the other things. But the vehicles that were there, they had a Tesla there. They had these cars that drive themselves or whatever. Maybe that's what we're coming up to in NASCAR.
Well,
can you imagine Jimmy Johnson sitting up in the stands with the people while he's driving the car?
CES, which is the Consumer Electronics Show. It's our biggest convention here in Vegas. About 150,000 people. It's actually scary to go in there because it's the technology of tomorrow. I mean, the big thing this year was wearable devices.
Yeah. Cameras and stuff.
Yeah, and I remember maybe 3 years ago, the drones were just little cute toys, and then somebody said, "Hey, the GoPro camera," popped it in the bottom, boom. Now you got them all over the place. It's fun, it's neat, but it's scary.
It is scary, but as you know, my son up in Pahrump, Jim, who I'm very, very proud of, is in his very last month or two of training to be a fireman. And I was watching those drones, and I'm thinking, man, you set one of those in a burning house, and you could go from room to room and look, and not really burn up any firemen looking for. You can put infrared cameras or all types of things that can see through where a human being doesn't have to anymore. So the applications, I think, are incredible. I think you might be able to see them, Mark, make their entry into sports in the very, very near future. Imagine having a drone out there at the foul pole for a home run, or underneath the uprights, or on top of the uprights, or whatever, for a field goal to shoot a straight line. I mean, they can make them do a number of things. They can shoot lasers up to the moon off of one of them little drones. So I think you're going to see somebody cash in on that and make it a novelty, at least in some of the minor sports. Speaking of minor sports, I do the show with the Vegas Lions football team out here that play out at the International School up in Henderson, where Findlay Prep plays basketball. And they're involved with these guys. They very much would like to play at this new stadium if it comes about, Mark. And I'm going to say something that is Las Vegas based, but they need to quit screwing around. The MGM's building their arena next to New York, and everybody's doing an arena and a stadium and a coliseum, and we got this group and that group. You know what? They need to put a damn stadium close enough to UNLV where the students can go to the football games, and that'll solve a whole hell of a lot of problems, including UNLV's football problems. John Robinson didn't forget to coach when he crossed the state line from California into Nevada. Bobby Hawk didn't forget how to coach when he crossed down from Montana. This Tony Sanchez is going to have a tough time competing at UNLV on any type of decent level because of the facilities and the things that they have here that other people are using to recruit against them. And if everybody would just put their egos in the trash can for a while, or in the cold storage, and get together, we could have a world-class stadium close enough to UNLV where the students could be a presence there, and have it be multifunctional or whatever, and spend the same amount of money and quit sniping at each other, and just, there's enough to go around, and I think they're being very petty about some of these things, and so we will see how this all shakes out, but I'm not real confident that it's anything positive until I see the results.
Well, I do, I mean, I've lived all over America. I've lived in God knows how many states. This is the only one where the college football team plays literally in another town, and
They damn near in Arizona.
yeah, and especially, you especially right now with the land prices are starting to go back up. The land that stadium is sitting on now is going to be pretty damn valuable. Sell that to the developers, tear up that damn parking lot, build it there. Get everybody involved.
Well,
I agree.
again, they have plenty of property. There's a lot of land around UNLV that they can use, or in close enough proximity that it makes it a doable thing. They have the bus that goes out to the Silver Bowl, and they have two different buses that they dedicate. Okay, there's a few people that ride them, but the students don't go. That student section, if that's I mean, you're talking about thousands and thousands of students go, and hundreds of students go to the games. If they could get to the game, they would go. And if it was downtown by the casinos, okay, that's close enough. Down Maryland Parkway and turn left on Fremont, you're there. They can do that, but to get all the way out there where it is now, it's I think just times have changed enough where they screwed Uber, so now you actually have to take the bus or a cab or a bike or your own car.
Well, I don't think it's well. Yeah, it is. But it's also a mental image because there's Thomas and Mack, and there's a wonderful basketball program, and then way over here someplace we've got a football thing going on over here. So the mental separation is also part of that physical separation. You don't see it; it's out of mind. It's out of view. It's out of mind. Where if they built it on campus or near campus, that's our pride. There it is. Look at it. Look at that beautiful stadium. Wonderful team. Right. Just. Being out.
And there again, I think greed has certainly clouded the issue here. Okay, there's money to be made in this new stadium. Yep, there sure as hell is, and we can't let UNLV have it. Why not? Why shouldn't they get some of it? It's us. It's us for the common good. If we're going to use public money for the stadium, shouldn't it go to a public university? I mean, I think there's just something that somebody's missing and saying, well, okay, either that means if they build this one downtown, and that means UNLV's either going to have an additional one to get a new one somewhere, or they're still going to play in the one out there and keep going through coaches every 2 or 3 years that miraculously forget how to coach once they get to Las Vegas, Nevada. So it's going to be interesting to see how it shakes out, Mark. Bob Beers, the guy, the biggest opponent of the stadium, is trying to get this on the to the public election or the general election to put a question forward to the people. And the election department said, yeah, you need to have 2,500 signatures or thereabouts. And so they got that, and they said, oh, we miscounted, and now you have to have 8,500. So they're sending their autograph seekers out again to hopefully get enough people to sign the petition to get it on the ballot, and it's going to be interesting to see how that works out, Mark. But there are some formidable foes out there to this program as it now stands downtown, and I would like to see UNLV benefit from it because without that, they might as well just shit can this football program and say, let's start from scratch. Let's go another way, because this is insanity. We've done the same thing over and over and over for years and years and years, get the same damn results and wonder what's wrong. Figure out what's wrong. Let's go on with it. I think it's a stadium. At least I think the facilities are a tremendous amount of the problem with UNLV's football team, not the coaching staff.
Well, they always have they have a problem with the coaching staff, but the coaches always seem to be able to cash the paycheck. So
but they bring in coaches that were successful elsewhere, Mark. So yes. Okay, then you have to say, okay, then where is the problem? I keep getting dates with pretty girls, but I'm going home and masturbating. Wait, there's a problem here. Let's figure this out, man. I got to change something up. So I think that's pretty much. That was an analogy that I just thought I'd throw in there.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Yeah, not a problem.
All right. So, are we going to do this again next Thursday?
Well, that sounds like a perfect idea to me.
All righty. Shall we wrap it up here?
We'll know what's going on in this last week. I think that would be a great idea, Mark. Always a pleasure doing the show with you, buddy. I'm Rick Rosen. You've been listening to Rick and Mark. Mark Anthony. Shoot.
VegasStripRadio.net. Next week. Okay. Hang on.